Kuzambullah, you're watching Bhutan This Week. I'm Chunizuk Selden. Our main stories this week. Upon royal command, the reverse isolation facilities are established in all districts. RCSC in process of managing out 47 executives with 44 opting for special retirement offer. EDP recommends government measures to cut fuel cost. Upon royal command, reverse isolation facilities have been set up in 20 districts. It is to help keep the most vulnerable section of society safe during the next phase of the pandemic.
It is to provide a safe space where they can effectively isolate themselves when there is a surge of positive cases in their communities. The reverse isolation facilities will have dedicated health professionals and personal caregivers. The facilities will be connected to relevant health facilities to ensure the well-being of residents in isolation. Priority will also be given to boosting the overall health of the residents with medical care and supplements. The reverse isolation facilities will be maintained under strict COVID-19 protocols. The facilities in all districts are already being activated to evacuate those in COVID-19 surge areas. The most vulnerable sections of the population identified through the health system and districts will be contacted and offered the option to enter. The office of the Gilpu Zimpe said that His Majesty's foremost concern during the next phase is the health and well-being of those individuals who are most vulnerable to COVID-19, particularly due to health comorbidities. This Kidu initiative stems from Bhutan's continuing policy of protecting lives during the pandemic. Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
The Tala Hydropower project in Chukha has resumed operation. The plant started generating electricity on 17th March. The hydropower plant was shut down for about 2.5 months for maintenance. The Green Power Corporation reported cracks and holes in the tunnel and debris on the tunnel floor during the initial inspection in March last year.
The import of electricity from India was suspended after the plant resumed power generation. Bhutan decided to import electricity from India to cater to the loss in power supply during the rectification works. The managing director of the corporation said remedial measures were carried out as recommended by the experts committee and the international consultant.
We hope it is good for the next 10 years. We are actually hoping that it will be good for the next 50-60 years, which is normally the lifespan of a hydropower project. But you cannot overrule the fact that these tunnels are running to very poor geological conditions. Whatever was necessary, whatever was possible, we have done to rectify at the present juncture. But for giving us a sense of confidence at regular intervals, it would be good to inspect the tunnel and to ensure that its integrity is still intact.
The corporation spent around 115 million yutam for the rectification works. During the physical inspection of the tunnel last year, the corporation found severe damages in the 23-kilometer tunnel that runs through a weak geological zone. A robotic underwater inspection saw cracks and holes in the tunnel. According to the corporation, pieces of concrete and other debris started appearing in the powerhouse in September 2018.
In a section where we call Padechu, which is somewhere between Takti and Gedu, there is a very poor, weak geological section. And in that section, in a section of about 600 meters, we found that the damages were more than what the robot's camera and video could capture. And so we found that reinforcement bars were exposed, concrete was cracked more than what was indicated in the video.
Although all 6 units of the plant can run at full capacity, due to reduced river discharge, only 2 units are operating at the moment. Compiled for Sangeshizum, this is Pupkame for BBS News.
Truckers ferrying gypsum from Pemagatsil are calling out for government intervention regarding their transportation charges. The truckers had appealed to their employing agency, the State Mining Corporation Limited or SMCL, to increase the rates following the recent rise in fuel price. But the company recently issued a notice saying it would not be revising the rates, after which the truckers have also stopped transporting the minerals.
More than 100 truck drivers transporting gypsum for the SMCL are waiting for a response from the SMCL. They are hoping the government will intervene and help them out. Until then, they have decided they will not be ferrying the goods. They say due to the recent increase in fuel price and high cost of goods, the rate which they are getting now is not enough for fuel and maintenance cost and meet their living expenses.
All of us belong to humble families. We are doing everything possible to earn our livelihoods and support our families. Many bought the trucks through loans. Without the increase in transportation rates, it will be difficult for us to compensate for the loans. We would be very grateful if the relevant agencies or the government could look into the matter and help us.
Not only fuels, tires, and the things required for a tipper have all increased. So it will be a loss. There is no benefit for us. That's why all of us have assembled here.
Even after the notification, we continued transporting gypsum. We approached the company. However, they did not accept our request and we were told that the rate would not be changed, so we have gathered here.
The truckers said their contract with the SMCL states that the company shall increase the transportation rate with an increase in fuel price and decrease with the decrease in fuel rate. They said after the recent rise in the cost of fuel in the country, they verbally appealed to one of the managers for the revision of their rates. But after a few days later, which was last week, the company sent out a notification saying they will not be making changes to the transportation charges. The truckers said they have also reached out to the Prime Minister and the government regarding the situation and are hoping they will intervene. Meanwhile, the SMCL said increasing the transportation rate is not feasible at this time as it would hamper the export of gypsum to other countries at the given market rate. The company also said the transportation rate is higher compared to other private companies in the country. The truckers usually transport the gypsum from the Khotakpa gypsum mine and unload it in Samrup Jonka. Kelzam Chodin, BBS News.
The RCSC is in the process of managing out the 47 executives who did not meet expectations during the recent leadership assessments. The list comprises of 7 executives at the secretary level, 22 at the director general level, and 18 at the director position level. According to the RCSC, managing out means demoting them to lower level positions or giving them the option to resign or retire.
The RCSC, through a press release, stated that 44 executives took up their special retirement offer. Meanwhile, 2 executives took up the offer to transfer to a lower position level and another to a specialist position level. The RCSC completed its assessment of 62 executives at the Secretary and Director General position levels in January. The assessments of 59 executives at the director position level were completed last month. The assessments were carried out by a panel of local and international assessors from the public and private sectors. The RCSC says it is accelerating efforts to transform the civil service to deliver economic prosperity, progress, and well-being for all. As such, the Commission says agencies may be merged, positions made redundant, and others streamlined. Kelzam Chodin, BBS News.
More than 80 individuals are still waiting for a refund even after 2 years. They registered for the International English Language Testing System, or IELTS, at the Royal Institute of Management in January 2020. They paid some 13,000 yutum each for the test. IELTS is an English language test for study, migration, or work.
The test was supposed to be held on 21st March 2020, but the pandemic closed the testing center, cancelling the test. And 82 individuals are still waiting for a refund, even after exchanging emails after emails with the institute.
Yan Shinkalu Chenjujamniki Kokapchina Bebe, the Anidi Namsime Rabime, the Dime Machin, the Tangachigi Mangildi, the Tonra Chuksumda, Nija Lep Napjudi, the Rifanansuwachin, the Tira Namisame Lejumime.
Lalugidi, the Tutonra Chusuda, Nija Napjudi, Rotsive, Lalu Pum Dinde Mebun, Laludi. Ranginam some coach di Bitru Selapchila. Me get to the Chibawachin, if you say I'll have Chigi to do Safila.
Ngara na da to college na the self financing na din the problem with him is juni la da na fee tab go be dilin tarun ngaragi zero chi tang go ban the problem di la shar him is juni la da kodang pa di halam email changi sum di chi di khong reply on de mula dirana li dinga chi email le ma he information ek ane ma dobla.
The IELTS coordinator at the Royal Institute of Management said the British Council in the UK assured to refund by the end of next month. The coordinator said the closure of the British Council office in India last year delayed the process. Now the money has to come from the UK. The coordinator said they are in constant touch with the British Council in the UK. Samtan Dolker, BBS News.
The Pumthang District Court has sentenced a 55-year-old man from Tashigan to 3 years and 3 months in prison for molesting his 12-year-old niece. The incident took place in March last year in Chumegyok when the man spent a night at the victim's family home on his way to Donsa. The judgment was passed 22nd of March.
According to the judgment, the man had slept with the victim and her 11-year-old brother on the same bed as there were no other rooms to sleep. He made the children watch videos on his phone before asking the girl to sleep with him. The brother's statement to police in the presence of a teacher, a counselor, a Renew volunteer and his parents says he had seen the uncle on top of his sister naked and had also partially undressed her while she was crying. The girl stated that the uncle touched her private parts and tried to influence her into sex by paying her 300 ngulrum. The man in his statement to police initially denied having touched the girl intentionally. He also questioned the legitimacy of the victim's brother as a witness in the investigation and claimed that the boy's statement could be influenced by his family members. A medical examination ruled out rape. Meanwhile, to examine the credibility of the child witnesses, the court recently conducted a video conference with the children who were by then taken by their elder sister to another district. The children stated all the facts as explicitly as their statements to the police. The convict then confessed to having touched the girl. Besides the sentencing, he will also have to pay a compensation of 45,000 ngultram to the victim within 1 month after the judgment is passed. The offence of child molestation is a felony of the 4th degree with a prison term ranging between 3 and 5 years. For Kipchu in Pumthang, Hisha Gelson, BBS News.
7 forest rangers in Thimphu appealed to the Agriculture Secretary regarding their redeployment orders, which they claim to be unfair. Their requests were rejected. The Human Resource Committee of the Agriculture Ministry had ordered the 7 officials who were identified as access staff to be redeployed in other agencies.
The Agriculture Secretary rejected the appeal since the order was issued based on the findings of the Organizational Development or OD exercise for the Ministry. An OD exercise recommended by the Royal Civil Service Commission looks at how civil servants are optimally engaged to eliminate duplication of responsibilities. During the OD exercise, these 7 forest rangers were marked as access staff since projects in which they were working had to be closed. The foresters claimed the excess staff deployment order to be unfair and handed to them without any prior notice during the lockdown.
Staff access no semela the hani access suda khogi bewachin hani pura banjab the hani na staff disu jogo base.
With regard to my transfer, RCSC issued the redeployment order. We were told that our project will be closed, but we did not receive any official letter concerning the closure and we do not fall under redeployment.
Reditalo nahi jihi lo nigi hemalo khochigi ani transfer order Timi ko mi dakpachila the hani disu machiwa the ngachi disu nebetang de.
Like her, some other forest rangers showed resentment over the deployment order.
Since
I'm told that I'm transferred and have issued redeployment order and told us our project will be closed for now, I'm not happy with the redeployment order. The order did not follow proper criteria and guidelines.
Meanwhile, the chief forestry officer said the foresters are being redeployed so that they can fully utilize their responsibilities.
We cannot retain their posts anymore. They were identified as excess staff, so they were redeployed to different agencies across the country. We are not chucking them out. According to the OD exercise, these projects do not fall under 4 ranges in Thimphu and their positions were no longer required.
The foresters had also appealed to the department's director on health grounds, which was also rejected. They also verbally requested the RCSC to consider their appeal and keep them in current workplace in Thimphu. However, the RCSC maintained its stand firmly and said they have to follow the order. For Chunidema, this is Pemaladen, BBS News.
Local leaders in Tashiansi have raised concerns over the slow construction works of the Kolong Hydropower Project Limited. It was discussed during the recently held Dzongkhap Tsogdu. Members said due to the delayed works, people are not able to reap the socio-economic benefits of the project.
Started in 2015, the construction of the 600-megawatt Kolong Hydropower project was supposed to be completed by early this year. But the deadline has been missed. An approach road to the project site, bridges, power substation and transmission lines have been completed so far. The construction of the staff housing colony was hampered by the pandemic, but is now nearing completion. One of the main civil works of the project, that is to build a headrest tunnel worth more than 4 billion Newton, is underway. But other key works such as the construction of dam and powerhouse are yet to begin. Citing these issues, local leaders urged the project officials to speed up the construction works.
Lejeb ditu didigibe digi teta kongi sochongchi betsuni no digibe teta da bilidi suzo kindle disoji tama kolochulo miligil datuzumbera in rembe yasobachin debera na di lisobachin nigi teta miselue tamadio bom metenga zewegi
junjongi zedonalo bewachin te dari te la begosalu te migobe te bemagobdaludi migi thungen disuda te junjongi zeru disu tangmagobbe te mafa betapchi yebachin digi tablomchi digobbe debe samcha disu shudigbe te nalu te devil disu phichi se shunila.
The Joint Managing Director of the project, Kencho Doji, said discussions are going on about dividing the works to construct the dam and powerhouse between an Indian company and the CDCL. The Joint Managing Director also said the project currently has more than 180 employees, of which almost 30 are from within the district. The project intends to recruit additional staff once the work gains momentum. However, he said they cannot give a definite deadline for when the project will be ready. For now, the project has suspended the construction of non-essential infrastructural works such as schools. Since the start of the construction, more than 4 billion yutum has been spent for the project so far. The Kolong Hydropower project is a joint venture company of SJVN of India and Druk Green Power Corporation. For Sonam Darji in Tashyangsi, this is Pemal Hardin, BBS News.
With the recent rise in fuel prices in the country, the People's Democratic Party is recommending the government to use Economic Stabilization Fund and waive taxes on fuel. It is to help people, especially in the low-income bracket. The party said if not addressed, it will further spur inflation across all goods and services, impacting the economy.
Today, the price of petrol is 95 ngitam a litre in Thimphu. The diesel recorded a new high of 100 ngitam a litre. The prices of petrol and diesel increased by 10 and 17 ngitam respectively. The People's Democratic Party recommended using Economic Stabilization Fund, instituted in 2017 with an initial deposit of 100 million itam. The fund is to ensure a steady level of government revenue in the face of major commodity price fluctuations. Out of the 15% of the earnings of the hydro projects paid as annual royalty to the government, 5% goes into the fund.
We think that government can use this stabilization fund to subsidize on the cost of fuel, so that if they decide that okay, the 100 ngiltam per liter is too high, government could decide okay, let's fix the price at 75, and whatever the actual cost that our distributors incur will be subsidized by the government.
The measure also includes temporarily doing away with 10% tax, green and sales tax, and surcharges, which will bring down the fuel cost significantly. The Economic Affairs Minister said they are anticipating the price to fall.
Now what we are going to see is, we will find out from, we can see that from the global and then from our dealers in India and all that. We'll try to get some facts and figures that what they are expecting. Now, are they expecting a more spike than this or a little lower than this? And what could be the lowest one possibly? Then we will submit the measures accordingly, and we'll submit as immediate as possible. We will not.
The minister said measures such as waiving taxes is more doable than using the fund, as the fund is still limited with just more than 700 million item. Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
The construction of new farm roads in Tagana will require being at least 500 meters in length and having 5 households with permanent residents as beneficiaries. This is as per the new local guideline for the construction of farm roads recently endorsed by the Tagana Dzongkhag Tsogdu. The new guideline, according to Tagana Dzongkhag administration, is to streamline farm road constructions in the district.
The district administration, while proposing the guideline, said the Farm Road Guidelines 2019 lacks minimum road length and household requirements for farm constructions. In such cases, the district officials said there are chances of misuse of farm road budgets. It also found that the provisions of the Farm Road Guidelines 2019 are also not followed at the local levels.
Previously, gigs they usually take farm road construction on their own decision. Basically, it is in line with the agriculture farm road guidelines for guidelines 2019. Based on that, just we are trying to streamline and streamline the farm road proposals.
But the proposal sparked a debate when some of the DT members raised concerns that some communities would be deprived of road connectivity if the guideline is endorsed. Meanwhile, some of the members also recommended the House take into account the term holders for farm road constructions. The Dagana Zonda said the House would revise the guideline after a few years depending on the coverage of farm roads in the Gyeogs. After a lengthy discussion, the House endorsed the guideline with the proposed requirement of having a minimum of 5 households with residents, but reduced the required length from more than 1 kilometer to 500 meters. The guideline will be effective once the Gyeogs receive the Dongkhak Togdu's resolution officially. For Pema Thawang in Dagana, Kyeljang Choden, PBS News.
For the first time, farmers of Chimong village in Pemagatse will venture into mass vegetable cultivation in a mega greenhouse. This is expected to boost domestic agricultural production to meet local demand and enhance food self-sufficiency. The initiative is a part of the government's National Economic Contingency Plan for Agriculture.
The construction of this mega greenhouse was completed in February this year. It is spread across an area of 60 decimals, which is equivalent to half the size of a football ground.
We are privileged to have received such a precious gift from His Majesty and the government. We are thankful because the gift comes at a time when the government is going through a difficult time amid the pandemic. We are encouraged to work harder than ever.
The mega greenhouse has good ventilation and it is not suffocating compared to normal greenhouses. It is challenging to work during the daytime in a normal greenhouse due to the heat. But this greenhouse allows us to walk and work freely.
The greenhouse will benefit more than 30 households in the village. The farmers will start growing vegetables beginning next month.
We don't want to keep it idle. Although we cannot return the money to the government, the least we can do now is to try to improve our livelihood by making the best use of it and become self-sufficient.
When the government is supporting us with such a facility, we have to work harder now. We want to make the best use of everything that has been provided to us.
The government spent more than 3.2 million yutam to construct the mega greenhouse. For Teledoji in Pemagatsal, Kinzang Hadin, PBS News.
That's all we have for you this week. Thank you for watching. I'm Chunu Zuxelden. Goodbye and take care.